Hi, I'm Justin.
Also, I hate the way my voice sounds, so if you can do whatever Photoshop does to voices, make me sound awesome.
And this is my lovely friend,
The beauty in the eyes of the beholder, and it's just about getting into the seat of being the beholder.
Hayley.
I don't think you have to be particularly perceptive. I just think you have to look up.
This podcast is mostly just her telling me stories.
If you expose yourself to the possibility that this might be really awkward, there can be something just really cool on the other side of it.
She thinks that her life and way of looking at things are
Oh, I was kind of waiting on you. I thought you were getting your stuff ready. You're waiting on me?
pretty normal.
You got to edit out all the misinformation about the Amish.
Maybe you can relate.
I would like a chance to re-sing the Amish Paradise.
If you want lighthearted stories
All right, you want to talk about goats?
and stream of consciousness,
I just woke up and needed some friends, and so I bought them.
then you're gonna like the Sunny Side Up podcast.
Sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up.
So, if you're at all like me, you may feel that you're living in a world that can be a bit overwhelming and confusing at times. I'm also a huge fan of podcasts, documentaries, docudramas, stories, and of just information in general. Between all of that and the social media and news, sometimes our brains can feel like they're on overload. Hayley and I hope that this podcast can be something of an antidote to all of that. Like little jello shots of joy and distraction. None of it is too serious or really too informative. Mostly it's just two friends who have conversational chemistry talking about whatever enters the minds of relatively ADHD people. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah, Nick is a sweetheart, though, and he came back and talked to my class again this year.
That's nice. I love
Yeah.
Nick. What a good dude.
He's a doll.
He is a doll. It's funny. Sweet little E, Erin.
Yeah.
It was the last time she was here. She was just talking about how Nick has become one of her count on the one hand besties that you can just call and talk to.
And they're in a close enough area that they may actually see each other face to face still.
They might be able to see each other face to face. I don't know.
His schedules, between her being a nurse and him being in the legislature, I imagine that they both have very, very, very full schedules. And Nick, when I communicated with him this year, he was, I don't remember, it was the 11th wedding of the year or something. They're just at that phase of life where,
Fair.
And he's a best man in everybody's wedding. So he just sounded like he was really
Nicholas.
busy. So I wonder if they have a lot of time to actually see each other.
Probably more. I got, my impression was much more phone conversations than face to face, but I could be wrong on that.
He's precious. I texted him once this year because he's been in my class a few times and is familiar with the population. And I was right after he came and was a guest speaker, one of my students got arrested.
Well, oh my gosh, I think I vaguely remember.
Oh my gosh, it was so. I'm junior college Are we recording? Because this is actually fairly
this is good,
okay.
yeah.
I think it's okay to talk about because it was all over the news, so there's nobody's confidential information or anything. But again, junior college population in that particular semester, in a really small classroom, over a fourth of it, probably almost a third of it, was from the football team, which
Wow.
love the football team, don't love having a huge clump of the football team in one class at the same time, because when there's one, they'll speak and participate in class like a regular student.
Mm-hmm.
When there's many, they're quiet. They don't really want to stand out in
Right.
front of their friends. So I'm I
that
can't get
kind
any.
of defeats the
Well,
point,
and it
yeah.
sucks because so many of them have great brains and great ideas, but they're not going to reveal any of that.
Not in front of their
Yeah,
their
exactly.
bros.
So I didn't get to know a lot of them on a personal level the way some of the other teachers did, but midway through the semester, one of the kids gets arrested for murder. Yeah, we're like, what? And other people are asking me, did you know him? Did you see this coming? And I was like,
Right.
did not get murderer vibes from this kid. He typically sat on the very back row of the classroom, but I wouldn't. I also am a back row sitter, so I wouldn't.
And you've rarely murdered people.
Ever. He was arrested for a murder on the Jackson State University campus.
Wow.
And everybody was really upset about it because the ones who knew him said absolutely unequivocally did not. There's no chance there's a mistake. They didn't even know the details.
They just knew like this kid
Yes.
and this charge.
Like there's some people that you
absolutely.
know that would be beyond reproach, and that was him. And as the details rolled out, it's like, hold up a second. Jackson State arrested this kid, and it was the football coach who said, not this one. This was the wrong one. He believed it so firmly that he began to drive around and collect the evidence. And so this student's teammates said he was with me or he was here, and he puts the story together. And our student, there was a murder on the Jackson State campus at, I forget the details now, it was like 9 p.m. Okay. And it took the police 30 or 45 minutes to respond. And then they arrest our student during the following week. The girlfriend of the suspect.
And by the way, how do they pick this kid out of a hat? Like, what is this?
Jackson State University, by the way, historically black university.
HBCU.
On homecoming weekend. So in our part of the South, which has a higher black population than most, and a college campus that is celebrated strongly on homecoming weekend, the most strongly celebrated of their football season, like lots of people on campus.
Totally.
Lots and lots and lots. And lots of goings on, loud, celebrating, music, all the things. So I could not imagine trying to investigate a crime scene in the midst of
all of that.
All of that going on. But our student, his girlfriend said he was...
What's his name? Like first name?
His name's Josh Brown.
Josh, okay.
And his girlfriend said, no, he was with me most of the morning. And then I dropped him off at his friend's house.
Alibi?
And I think they had gone to church that morning, perhaps. That's why they were together. And then she dropped him off with his friend. And then they drove to Hattiesburg, nearby town, and were seen on security camera at a grocery store, seen on security camera at, I think, a gas station, in his dad's white pickup truck, and on security camera at the Krispy Kreme drive-thru. And the Krispy Kreme drive-thru attendant even said, yes, I remember talking to him because he was a Jones student. I was a Jones student. We had a conversation about it. I remember this. So we get information like a witness. And the football coach is doing all of this running around collecting. Law enforcement is not. And it took weeks. This child is being held in a correctional facility where, by the way, an inmate died even while he was there. Like, not a great facility to be being held at. Everybody's feeling a bit panicked in what's going on. And Jackson police is saying, we can't investigate it because campus hasn't turned it over to us. They're still conducting it with campus police. And so we get into the nuances of jurisdictional lines and who has the right to look and can they hand it over and all these, federalism conversation. It lended well to a semester of government. We got to really unpack some of the, here's the principles of government, but here's how they actually function in real life.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, the student was completely exonerated. It was the story that everybody said. He was at Krispy Kreme. But they had said he committed the murder or he was driving the getaway car, I think is what they said. His car was seen at the scene of the crime. And the football coach said, that's interesting because his car was totaled 2 or 3 weeks ago. Here's a picture of it at the junkyard
and
where
again,
it's been.
This is not the police doing any of this work. Yeah.
And our problem was that the police wouldn't even address, and they received the information and wouldn't even comment. And we're like, well, how are you getting all of this information and just sitting on it? It was the most hands tied frustration. You've got all these facts on your side and there's nothing you can do about it while an innocent person is
just sitting there rotting in jail.
But also, like, my heart feels like it's a risk to be in a jail. Like,
it is a risk.
Okay.
It is a zero. It is nothing fun
right?
happens
Like,
in
that's
jail.
not conspiracy
not
theory.
Men's jail
I am often a conspiracy theorist, but that's not that's not the part of me that's saying this. This is like rational.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous place to be.
It is a dangerous place.
And for a good, calm kid. But
yeah.
It was crazy.
And to be innocent when you're in jail and you're innocent of the crime, there's just something. It breaks there's like a part of you that wants to believe the system is fair and surely I wouldn't end up in jail for something I didn't do. Like, you just kind of want to believe that. And God, I'm sorry, man. That's tough for this
He
kid.
was exonerated by Krispy Kreme, and I feel like that's a beautiful story.
That's a beautiful story.
I will.
Right.
do my part and go celebrate Krispy Kreme any chance I get for being on the side of justice in that case. But it was a crazy situation. It took so long. And had the football coach not run himself ragged, and then everything that he was collecting, his brother was an attorney, so his brother and a former preacher at one of the larger congregations in the state of Mississippi, so had a little more of a platform than the average bear. And they were using every resource they had to try to connect the dots and get justice for this person who definitely deserved it.
Right.
And it was...
Because I'll tell you what, like, I'm not trying to be, whatever, but, like, of course, after my situation and the just kind of brutal wake-up call with the justice system, I've been listening, pretty religiously to Wrongful Conviction. Great podcast. Highly recommend. Everybody should listen to.
I don't know if I can handle it. Injustice
it's called,
keeps me awake at night. So I don't know if that's the podcast for me.
But every once in a while, just like grab a Wrongful Conviction, whichever the latest one is. You don't have to find any particular story. They're all just really fascinating. But
Kennedy Brewer, have you ever heard? Was he ever mentioned in there?
Maybe like, some more. I don't listen to all of every episode. I just like when I'm going through a new crop of podcasts to listen to. I just grab whatever the latest one is. So I don't remember his name, but no, it is astounding how often the police, they just sort of it's the police and prosecution when they zero in on their guy at the exclusion of all the evidence that will come in that'll be like, absolutely, this guy didn't do it. They just go forward. And it's like over and over and over again. And it's like this combination of maybe laziness, ineptitude, but it's also just like it's kind of easier that way. It's like because the public is demanding something quick. They want a quick win.
Yes.
Right. And, I don't know what this kid's resources are, but if he's a poor black kid family that doesn't have the resources to get a great lawyer, they can get an easy win. Yep. And it's just so much easier that way versus like you said, it's a crazy busy weekend. There's a bazillion kids running around. We have no freaking idea who did it. And of course, not only, the worst thing that happens there is that the innocent is thrown into a system that they don't deserve to be there. But on the victim side, now you've got someone who committed a real crime who's still running around happily.
Thank you. That's what students on that campus should have been concerned about was, hey, still a killer among us.
Yeah.
Which in this situation, there was an argument, like a lover's quarrel. Somebody broke up with somebody or, there was a situation. And it was those two arguing. She calls, hey, can you come because I feel a little threatened. Can you come help me? I'm getting my stuff out of his apartment or along those lines. So that's where this student's name came up. But I think he was the brother of the girl involved or something. That's why his name was brought up by association there and legitimately for that reason, even though he didn't actually show up. The cops heard that part of the story. Yeah. The other person in the lover's quarrel called his frat brothers to show up. So an entire fraternity shows up and mayhem ensues. Oh, God. Someone who was just trying to break up the fight was caught in the crossfire. And so innocent victim there where he was shot. But a fraternity is never going to rat their brothers out. No. But they were totally willing to pin it on a boy who wasn't even on the campus. And it was like, oh, my gosh, where's your humanity?
Yeah.
It was the thing that made you want to pull your hair out. And you just think that justice is not that hard to come by if you have the evidence. If you have somebody with a big platform that's no, it was still completely out of our hands. It was so frustrating. Gosh. It was crazy.
Well, thank God, like you said, he got to come out of
Thank God and Krispy Kreme.
And Krispy Kreme. I mean, really.
It was still a good semester. Overall, and he was able to rejoin right towards the end. So it ain't over. I was like, boy, who's gonna play you in the movie version of the story?
Hello, lovely friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And it would mean the world if you would tell other people about this podcast and maybe even spam your social media accounts with just how much you're enjoying it. If you are, of course. Also, commenting and rating us on whatever platform you're downloading or streaming from is incredibly helpful to a little startup podcast like this one. On the other hand, if you are dissatisfied with your listening experience, please leave all of that hate on someone else's podcast. just maybe to confuse them a little bit, right? But most of all, we hope you keep looking up and looking for the sunny side of life.